right, all right, all right. Here we go. Kyle, we've been talking about doing this for a while, and here we are. This is our inaugural episode of the Watson&Wiltshire podcast. How you feeling, buddy?
Our maiden voyage. I'm excited. We have done so many of these for other people, and we have basically been recording podcasts on our various commutes for the last nearly 30 years.
Yeah.
Why not get cameras and microphones and everything else involved, and let's record it. Let's do this thing, man.
Make some magic happen. I don't know about you, but I started to feel like I needed to hear the theme song of Scott Bakula's Enterprise. It's been a long time.
It's been a long road getting from there to here. It's been a long time, but my time is finally here. That's all I got.
Hey, that is one of the better theme songs, and I think that gives a little indication of where things are going to go for us as far as this podcast. We're going to be dealing with all things pop culture. We're going to be talking about the dead rock stars. We're going to be talking about all kinds of fun stuff, really what we want to talk about. And in our first episode, man, we're going to talk about some old movies. We're going to talk about a series that's just recently come out, something that's kind of taken over the world by storm when it comes to television. And then we're going to talk a little bit about chasing our dream of book one, and then maybe the sequel might be what we're talking about today. So I'm pretty fired up about all of those things. Kyle, how was your weekend?
Man, weekend was great. Let's
get the rundown of who won. Let's hear who won for your teams.
Well, my Saints won in glorious fashion. Our little friend group, we have the Telegram, and I was called out on the Telegram for not having left the chair from 1 p.m. to about 9:30, maybe 10 yesterday. I literally sat in front of a television watching football.
Is that accurate?
Yes. I mean, I got up a time or two, but I was basically in the chair the whole time.
How does that work at your house?
It was a Sunday. The day before, both my boys are in marching band, so we're doing a whole lot of marching band stuff. Yeah. We did some work in the yard. We were legit adults the day before, and so after church Sunday morning, it was like, hey, let's watch some football. Kickoff weekend.
Yeah. It was beautiful, man. Glorious. It was a wonderful thing. I watched the Titans, and the first quarter was amazing, and the second quarter was amazing, and halftime I started to get a little sleepy. Third quarter I took a nap, and fourth quarter our pets' heads were falling off is kind of where that went. And
yeah, if you had gone into a coma at halftime, and woke up, you would have been shocked to have learned what happened. It had to have been devastating.
So you'll have to forgive me. I know that your NFL team is the Saints, and I have no idea what happened Sunday. I think I saw maybe a video of Derek Carr getting away with a really bad pass in the end zone that scored a touchdown. But other than that, what happened?
We blew out the Panthers. Blew them out 47-10. I had hopes that we would win that one. The Panthers were terrible, and so they fired their whole coaching staff. They let go of a lot of their better players. I wouldn't say good players, but better players in the offseason. And they've got this quarterback who hadn't really proven much. And so I was hopeful. I was like, we should win this one. But I didn't see 47-10 coming. That was wow, big time.
And one thing that needs to be acknowledged about Saturday, since we're going kind of out of order a little bit, is both of our teams are 2-0, and both of our teams have put up a lot of points. A lot of points. Did you see what Vanderbilt did? I know that you probably didn't, and no one else did either. I'll go ahead and tell you, Kyle. They scored 55 points. 2-0. 55-2-0.
Yeah. Who'd they play? Sisters of the Blind? Which one was it?
It doesn't matter. It's not important. I am curious, though. I'm going to look up right now while we're doing this to see if they're nationally ranked anywhere. Vanderbilt football national ranking. Let's see what happens just to see, because, it's probably going to be like 130 or something like that.
No, they beat a decent team in their first game, a name brand at least. I don't know how good Virginia Tech is, but they beat a name brand at least. And they won convincingly Saturday. I bet they're top 50 right now, at least. Maybe top 40.
I don't know. What would I look up for, like, top 25? Oh, college football top 25.
Yeah, what you're gonna have to do, because I don't think they're in the top 25. You have to see the others receiving votes.
I understand how you feel about Vanderbilt Commodores, Kyle, but I'm just curious. Let's just see what's going on.
Look it up.
Top 25. because they're not. Vanderbilt received votes.
So you back up from how many teams receive votes, and that's where they would be if the rankings expanded
26,
beyond 25.
27, 28, 29, 30. Memphis is 30. 31, 32, 30. They're number 34 in the nation, Kyle.
Number 34 in the nation. How about that?
That deserves celebrating. I don't know how I'm going to celebrate. I guess this black shirt with my gold heart is like promoting Vanderbilt Commodores. But your Tennessee Volunteers, the redneck team of all redneckery, is that's number 7 in the nation. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a couple of different polls. I think in one they're 6 or 7, and one they're like 9. But they jumped up from like 12 or 13 because they.
This is the kind of poll you want to get on, right? Is that what we're talking about?
This is the kind of poll you want to be on. It's they whooped. You have to whooped NC State. NC State. I said NC State whooped them. I mean, that was just it was bad.
We're not going to talk about football every time, but it's football time in Tennessee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Now the real season starts in 2 weeks when we go to Oklahoma, and we'll see it. We'll know a lot more. But I feel really strongly that we have a quarterback. There's a little video going around. I don't know if you saw it from someone else, but it was I don't remember what movie it was from. But there's all these kids singing for an audition for a play, singing Total Eclipse of the Heart, and they're just
Nothing
awful.
I can do.
One after the other. Yeah. It's just awful. And then like below was the name of a quarterback recruit for Tennessee for the last like 10 years. And then the last kid comes in and he's singing beautifully. And it's Nico. I can't even say his last name.
Kyle.
Imaliavea, something like that.
Okay.
Nico Imaliavea. And he's singing on pitch perfect. It's beautiful. And the teacher's weeping as, that's the way as Tennessee fans we feel. We finally have a quarterback, I think.
Were all the other people that were auditioning for the part, were they last named Clausen? Like, was that what was happening over there?
We hadn't had a Clausen in like a good 15, 18 years. It's been a while.
Whatever.
We went through our Clausens.
You did go through some Icemen. You went through some Icemen. So we're not going to be doing this every time. We're not going to be talking about football. But what are some things that you think we will be covering over the next couple of episodes, Kyle?
Well, you and I are, if nothing, masters of the fringe nerdery pop culture, and so there are things that we will need to talk about. We might hit some Star Wars, we might hit some Star Trek, even maybe, I don't know, but we may hit some other areas. It might get way off the reservation, like talk about wrestling or something. Who knows, man? Who knows where we'll go? It'll be exciting though.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about stuff, what we want to talk about. This is the Watson&Wiltshire podcast. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Dead Rock Stars. We're going to talk about this beautiful universe that you and I have created and get to be a part of and are starting to work on the future. But we're also going to talk about things we want to talk about, which leads us to kind of our first segment. And that is, what are you taking in, Kyle?
Well, that's a good question. For you and I, one of our literary heroes, I would probably say or at least role models, who we kind of aspire to be like, is Ernest Cline. He's a middle-aged guy.
Yes.
Who wrote
handsome fella. I don't know. I've never seen him. I don't know what he looks like.
Yeah, he looks like us. He's one of us, man. He wrote a super nerdy book called Ready Player One, and it's fantastic. But it is, man. You have to have maybe not a PhD in nerdery, but at least a master's degree.
You don't come to that story with nothing. Yeah. You gotta know your 80s a little bit.
You better pack a lunch. So he's one of our heroes, right? Because he did what we are aspiring to do. Wrote a book that full of pop culture that people just love, and becomes a movie and all that. So people love the book. We have both read the book and loved the book. Well, they made the movie several years ago. Gosh, I want to say 2016, 2017. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, we've got the internet for that.
We do have the internet. We could look that up. I should know that, but I don't. I'm better with the 80s and
2018,
90s.
Kyle.
2018. So came out in 2018 to much excitement, and then most of nerd culture watched it and went, boo. Because it deviated so much from the book. The heart of the story.
I think there's there's some of the issue there is I was amazed that Steven Spielberg got a hold of that book to make a movie, because the book was so nerdy. Like,
Yeah.
how do you create a visual image of someone playing through the entire game of Pac-Man?
Right. It was challenging, to say the least.
Yeah.
If someone were to be faithful to the book, it had to be pretty challenging. So a lot of people rejected it. A lot of people didn't like it as much, thought it was, a bit of a betrayal. Well,
and first time you watched it, how'd you feel?
I didn't. I was a little frustrated because it varied so much. I did enjoy the kind of the rich nature of the pop culture, and the references, and how it kind of shifted more to the stuff that maybe a little bit more 80s and 90s stuff that we love. That wasn't as much in the book. The book was so much Dungeons and Dragons and Atari and, some of the things that are, like I say, super nerdy that we necessarily haven't gotten into, but we love the music. We love, just all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I watched this movie with my middle son.
Recently,
yeah. And it was, I really wanted to watch it to give it a second chance to see, hey, is this, and as bad as I remember is not really the right term, but is this like not as good as maybe is it better than I remembered? And so he was just in the room with me, and he watched it with me, and he watched that opening sequence, the race, which again was totally different from the book.
Not even in the book, right?
Well, it was completely different. Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
And here's the truth. I'll be honest. I don't remember like all the plot for plot, details of the book.
But he's one of our heroes.
But he's totally one of our, yes. But all that to say, he watched the movie with me and was enraptured.
Yeah.
Like, he was locked in and he loved it. And when it was all said and done, he was like, man, that was good.
Yeah.
And he's my kid that's not as much a cinephile. Noah, my older, is a huge cinephile. He'll watch anything with me. If I give him, hey man, I think you'll like this, he'll watch it. He'll give it a chance. Or Micah is not as much. He may watch for a minute and then he'll bail out. But he watched the whole thing with me. He loved it. So it kind of made me reevaluate, hey, were we a little too harsh on Ready Player One, the film? And did they actually make the right choice by veering away from the uber nerdiness of it and bringing it more into the mainstream of pop culture, more Back to the Future, more Terminator, a lot of the things that were the imagery and the references that were in the film, was it better suited for the audience, and could it find a greater audience if it went with these newer things? And I really, upon, reevaluation, I think they made the right choice, honestly. And if you can just sort of say, okay, it's okay that it doesn't follow the book precisely, it's really pretty awesome, pretty great book. Or, pretty great movie, if you ask me, upon rewatch.
Yeah, I'm not against you. I would say that the book is special, and they do a really good job of capturing nerd culture. A good example would be T.J. Miller's character, J-Rock. J-Rock, is that right? Or I-Rock,
something like that, yeah.
I-Rock,
Yeah.
Maybe. He's a bigger deal in the book than he is in the film.
Yeah.
And he actually he's involved in the lives of Wade Watts, yeah. Wade Wilson is another.
Wade Wilson's Deadpool.
Yeah.
And a quarterback from the 80s for the Vikings and the Saints.
Ready Player One pool,
That's right.
It's kind of probably what that is, I guess. But little things like that. I think they nailed some of the character people. Obviously, in the book, Wade Watts is a lot bigger of a nerd and not as, even though that guy's not totally cool looking, like he's not as handsome as that fella is.
Yeah.
And they take time to explain that. Ernest takes time to explain that. But I do think they capture the spirit of the book really, really well. Even explaining an Easter egg that is in a video game, which is kind of a climax of the story, I thought was really, really well done. I thought the CGI still holds up pretty well for 2018.
Yeah.
Although, man, it's one of those things where I hope they revisit that story maybe in 20 years. And I'm not the guy who says don't do remakes, because I think sometimes they can do them better. They can make them interesting, like Roadhouse. Anyway, we can talk about that later. So for you, you're saying give Ready Player One a second chance. Maybe watch it again, and maybe watch it with your tweens.
Yeah, I think just because it's really a pretty exciting story. It's pretty gripping. The chase element, the MacGuffin, finding the keys. There's points where it gets a little confusing, a little convoluted. But yeah, all in all, I felt it was really strong upon rewatch, and I feel like I was a little too harsh the first time around. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, I hate to agree with you because I don't like to agree with you, but I think you're right. Like it was one of those things for me too. I did, because I knew you were doing this. I actually spent some time. It was on TV. I think it was on TNT or something like that, and I spent some time watching it, and I wasn't disappointed. I enjoyed a lot of the things they did. It was a really smart movie. Like even the MacGuffins that they kind of made, they were smart.
Yeah,
and I didn't mind them at all.
That race at the beginning is it's gripping, man.
Yeah,
it really is.
Spielberg, that guy can make a film.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I hope he makes more. I'd like to see what he can do.
He's got a bright future.
The movie.
He has a bright future.
He's got a bright future. All right, let's talk a little bit about what I'm watching. Do you remember what we're talking about today, Kyle? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know of what you're speaking of, but I know nothing of what you're speaking of. Yes.
Have you ever seen the 1991 film Time Bandits by Terry Gilliam?
I have not.
So this is one of those movies. I don't know how much you know about Terry Gilliam, but that is a weird dude. Like he makes
Monty Python, right?
Yeah, he's Monty Python, but like he's made just like the Adventures of Baron Munchausen. I think he did 12 Monkeys. I think that may have been him.
Okay.
If we were to pull up a IMDb of this guy, he's all over the place. Like he's made some great films, and he's also like really people love him. But he also makes some weird stuff. The Man Who Killed Don Quixote is one of his more recent ones. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, Brothers Grimm, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 12 Monkeys, The Fisher King. That was him.
His masterpiece is like Brazil. I've never seen it, but it's the one that everybody's like, that's his masterpiece.
In 1977, he made the movie Jabberwocky, which is now a professional hip hop group, I believe. But in 1981 was the Time Bandits, and for me, I remember this film. It was a significant film to me because it was a kids movie, but it was weird and it was dark, and it was one of those things where you didn't really know exactly what was going to happen. Well, Apple TV somehow got the rights, and they've given it to Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi, and they have remade Time Bandits into a 10-episode arc. And I don't know how much love it's getting. I don't know how much it's being viewed or being cared for, if it's even in the Zig Heist, if you will. But man, I really liked it, and I don't think it was nostalgia related. I think it was probably just a pretty decent kids show. Like at the heart of it, there's this kid named Kevin. He's 8 or 10 or 12 years old, whatever. I mean, depending upon wherever you want to land him. And he's a big nerd. Like he likes history. He's fascinated with the world and history. And his parents are kind of those classic Harry Potter aunt and uncle kind of people, except it's a modern take on it. They're constantly looking at their phones. They think he's a nerd and wants to go to nerd stuff, and like, they're British, and so he wants to go to Stonehenge, and they're like, why would you want to go see a bunch of rocks? Like, poor Kevin's never had a friend kind of stuff. And, Kevin doesn't care. He's geeking out over the thing. And so you've got these parents that are lame. You've got this kid who has this vibrant imagination, but he's obviously not the one getting picked for kickball. And what happens is his bedroom turns into a dream world where people that are trying to chase treasures from all times of the earth they're time bandits. They've taken this map from the supreme being, who happens to be Taika Waititi. No surprise there. If the man can play Hitler, he can also play the supreme being. And they've taken a map, and this map gives all the secrets of the world away. And Jermaine Clement basically plays pure evil. That's his nickname. That's his name. And he has horns and looks ridiculous, and he wants to turn the world evil. And the map is his secret to turning the world evil. So very simple premise, very silly. But these time bandits don't quite know how to read the map. And so you find them landing in the prehistoric age, the ice age, in the time of prohibition. You find them landing at Stonehenge when they're making Stonehenge and trying to figure out why they made Stonehenge. And, there's really good jokes about that. They're landing in, all Troy. They show up they're inside the Trojan horse and Trojan horse in one spot, and it's just a lot of fun. And while historically you're probably not like learning all the coolest right things, like it is a really, really enjoyable experience, and I think the critics love it. I don't know that the fans love it. I think if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, it's like 78% critic and like 55% audience. And I think a lot of it has to do with the tone. Because it's like erratic and you don't know exactly what's happening or what's happening. And part of the reason for that is Terry Gilliam, when he made it, Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement, when they made it, it's very much like a child's dream. So because of that, it's not necessarily going to be super connected.
Okay.
Lisa Kudrow is one of the main characters, and she's awesome. Really, really cool. And so, like, I don't know. If you haven't seen it, you should take some time. I'd love to see maybe not what your oldest boys think, but I'd like to know what Lily thinks. I'd like to know what your youngest thinks, because it's pretty clean, and it's a lot of fun. It's a kid's story, man. It's good. So,
she would dig it. She loves Harry Potter. She gets into a little bit of the fantasy genre a little bit. So she might get into it. But she is very much similar to me, a one person thing, or one like she's wholly devoted to Harry right now. So diverting her attention to anything else is a bit of a challenge. But yeah, she might want to check that out. So it sounds a little bit like a British Bill and Ted, maybe a little bit. Minus
it's
the phone
a kid's
booth
version of British Bill and Ted. And one of the things that was great about Bill and Ted is you loved Bill and Ted. They were goofy and you loved them.
Right. Excellent.
Yeah. Be excellent. Be excellent. Kevin is this precocious little kid with glasses who kind of looks like a 2024 Harry Potter. And he's not like him in the sense that he's got that edge and bravery, but he's just bright. And he knows things, and he kind of is the heart and soul of the film, and he really loves his family, even though his family is a bunch of idiots. And he loves them, and there's just, I don't know. And plus, man, Jermaine Clement and Taika, they're just weirdos, man. They got quirky humor, and if you're down with it, if you're feeling a little Jojo Rabbit, you should jump, is all I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Well, let me ask you, so when they go to Troy, was that before or after Indiana Jones showed up? Just let me know. That's all I really want to know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't even know if he showed up at Troy. That was just a joke at how awful that last Indiana Jones movie was. Sorry. We don't have to get off on that.
That's okay. I didn't finish it.
Sorry. Spoiler alert.
I guess he goes back in time. So in our next episode of What We're Taking In, it won't be Indiana Jones and the, 80-year-old horse rider or whatever it's called. All right. Let's talk about something together, something that we've kind of watched together. This is our, let's talk about what we watched together.
Okay.
And it's something that I came to early and towards the end of season 1, and you jumped in, I guess, season 3-ish and kind of barreled through it. And I think we have slightly different opinions, but I also think that it'll be good to talk about, because I think as popular as this series is, a lot of people still haven't watched it. They may be familiar with it, but they haven't done it. Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about The Bear.
The Bear, yeah. I think this show would be, if this were, obviously this show wouldn't exist if it were the 80s or 90s, unless it were, an HBO or whatever. But it's as close to, I think, something that's maybe monoculture as it gets, in the fact that if people haven't seen it, they've maybe heard of it, or they've seen people pop up in things. They're like, oh yeah, the dude in that wrestler movie, he's from The Bear, like they kind of have some connection, whether they've watched it or not. But yeah, The Bear's kind of everywhere. Even before I watched it, I heard so many people talking about it, how good this show is, how great it is. We watched actually after season 2, so we burned through season 1 and 2 pretty quickly, and then had to wait for 3, and then we watched season 3 in like 3 sittings max. I don't remember. We got through it fast.
You didn't enjoy season 1, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't like, talk a little bit about just how you felt. Like, I think one of the things that's really powerful about this show is how it makes you feel.
Yeah. I have never, worked in a restaurant or served in the food industry. Watched a lot of cooking shows, but man, and the people who are in that world say it's very accurate. Man, I couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle talking to people that way or being spoken to that way. In season 1, especially. Did
you come from a "we don't raise our voices" family, Kyle?
It wasn't not just we don't raise our voices, but we don't use those words. Those are words we don't use.
Yeah, I got my mouth washed out with soap if I got anywhere close to those words, for sure.
Yeah, if I even thought them, somehow my mom would know. But so I mean,
when I was 4, I was coloring, and I colored outside the lines, and I dropped a GD.
Oh. Well, I came in our apartment when I was about 3, singing the old "Hair of the Dog" song by Nazareth. You're messing with a son of a bitch. If you ever heard that one, listen.
I haven't.
Look it up, Nazareth. It's called "Hair of the Dog."
Yeah.
Just look that one up. I heard our neighbor. Our neighbor was listening to that song, and I didn't know what it meant. I came in, I was singing it, belting at the top of my lungs. What are you singing?
Yeah.
And I got in trouble. And I remember that from 3 years old. I remember it. Anyway.
Yeah, I can still taste the dial soap in my mouth from that GD over coloring outside the lines, which, having looked back upon it at 4, I feel like I used it appropriately, but at the same time may have been a little aggressive. You know what I mean?
Much. Yeah. That's what they always say about profanity is like, if you're dropping that for coloring outside the lines, what are you going to say when you get your arm cut off? I mean, there's not much. There's not room to go there.
You've set the ceiling too high.
Really too high. Yeah.
Well, maybe Indiana Jones can go back to when I was 4 and tell me a little bit about what word I should have used.
Yeah. Kid, that's not what you should be saying. That's Mark Hamill doing Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. Anyway, so
that's a deep cut.
Season 1 of The Bear was rough until the final episode.
Mm-hmm.
And, spoiler alert, if you have not seen The Bear season 1, when he finds the cans stuffed full of money.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we got to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We got to talk about it.
All right.
When he finds the cans, like,
we'll say that.
And Radiohead kicks in, it just chill bumps went from my hands, my wrists worked all the way up my arms to my shoulders to my neck. Every hair stood up. It was like, it finally makes sense. It all came together, and so it made. Honestly, I mean, this is not a good way to recommend watching a show. It made how torturous those first 9 episodes were worth it, and I was like, I'm in. I am so in. I want to see where this goes.
Okay, let's get philosophical for a second, if it's okay. I think one of the things that The Bear tackles has to do with purpose and dreams. Mm-hmm. When you think about kind of the nuclear unit that comes together for The Bear, for the people that are in there, you've got people like Fack, who is that guy, right?
Right.
Then you got Richie. You got also known as
Cousin.
It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite all-time things in a TV show.
Heard.
The lingo in there, like even this thing, man. Like that's season 2 and beyond. But the nuclear family unit, and they begin to what you begin to realize is there's this sense of purpose, like Jeremy Allen. What's Jeremy Allen White's what's his name? He's the bear. Carmy.
Yeah.
So Carmy's apparently better than everybody else, right? I mean, that's the kind of the mood, but he has this purpose, and you don't really understand why someone who is such a gifted whatever is now in this dump. I was in Chicago this past weekend. We passed a place called The Beef. It was like American beef or Chicago beef or something like that. But you see it, people are out the line, and you're like, that is not where a 3-star Michelin chef works. That is somewhere where they probably haven't changed the oil since the 1950s, and and some people celebrate that. But purpose, connection, doing something great, when you think about those things in comparison to The Bear, what speaks to you?
I mean, just striving for excellence. I mean, that as the show progresses, especially season 3, that's really what it seems to be about. Like at every turn, striving for excellence. And I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute when we get to talking about the books. But that's not something that I don't know that I can look back on my life and be like, I've done a whole lot of things excellent. Have I done some things okay? Have I done some things well? Sure. But have I done a whole lot of things like the striving of my life is to be excellent? That's not
like
me.
Bill and Ted.
That's not how I'm wired,
Like Bill and Ted.
A little excellent. Yeah. So, like it's interesting to see someone who, that's kind of what gets him up in the morning. However, also talks about the futility of that, because it is unobtainable. It is absolutely unobtainable to be perfect, and how especially season 3, it seems like how it kills your soul,
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I love the show. Like, I think it's one of the best things that's been made in television in the last couple of years. I'm still on record for saying Watchmen episode 8 is probably the best episode of television that's been made in the last 10 years. But for me, The Bear is art. Radiohead, and the way they use music, the way they use Chicago, the way they create these people is just beautiful. But the thing that I think is interesting is they explain people's reason for purpose based on a little bit of their origin of family. Some of the people out there, when they review it, if you were to type in The Bear, you would get trauma plot is what they would call it. Trauma plot. And so, you got people that are maybe borderline personality disorder. You got bipolarism. You got manic depressive. You've got the codependent and the caretaker. And it's almost like when you come from a family where trauma is a part of it, the reaction to that, the effects of trauma are very different for lots of people. And you've got these brothers and these sisters that play out the different versions of that.
Yeah.
Abby Elliott is not a very memorable SNL person. I mean, could you think about who she was on SNL? Did she play Brittany?
Maybe. The one I remember her most from is the Lawrence Welk show. She was always one of the sisters, and then they had the what's her name? Came in with the small little
Drew Barrymore, didn't she? Or am I
she
forgetting?
may have. Yeah, she may have.
But this character and what she does in it is not only classic codependent caretaker. It's real. Like, it's not just a characterization of that. It's not a caricature of that. Like, it's how codependent caretakers are. The person that is abusing you, you keep asking them, are you okay? And like, when I see that on film, like, it breaks me. Like, and I called it film, even though it's television. Like, it's beautiful the way they do it. Carmi. Coming from a family that is chaos, he sees order in the world. And so it's in the beauty of what he makes, and that is his escape, is that excellence, and that striving for excellence. And what I would say is, and I don't know if this is where they're going at the end, but you talked about, like, it's what did you say? It's fruitless, or no, it's impossible.
Yeah, it's futile. It's futile. Yeah, perfection is futility.
Yeah. What I would say is, you can't run from trauma. And it doesn't matter what you try to do to respond to it, if it's making sure everybody's okay and taking care of everyone else, or if it's chasing after excellence. When you achieve the excellence, it's not going to be fulfilling. And so you go back to the trauma. And I even think the way they show 12-step groups and things like that. And like this is really serious, kind of heavy stuff around the bear, but it's also a lot of fun, and it's also silly, and it's also like deeply character driven. Season 3, I don't know, I think you were telling me a little bit, but season 3's, I don't know. I mean, as far as moving the plot forward, I don't know that it did that much, but it did help us love the people a lot more. Yeah.
I think it wasn't about moving the plot. It was about deepening the characters, is what season 3 was all about, for me at least, because you spend a whole character with Tina, and finding her backstory and how she just stumbled into the restaurant and didn't have a
Wasn't
food
that,
background.
That was crazy.
Yeah, and
Angel Batista from the series Dexter shows up as a husband. I had no idea. We still don't know about him, but like there he was.
Didn't clock him. Yeah, did not clock him.
Yeah.
What a good husband though. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd marry him. I thought he was dreamy. Okay, we got a few more minutes. Let's talk about favorite character on The Bear for you.
Oh man, gosh, that's a great question. There's so many good ones. I mean, and the easy answer is one of the Fact brothers, and just how hilarious they are. Because
has anybody ever haunted you, Kyle?
I've never been haunted, as far as I know.
Are you sure?
Maybe John Carroll. That is,
but I feel like John Carroll haunts us all, and maybe we'll have him on the series.
But being haunted by John Carroll is like going into Valhalla. It's
Well, I'm maybe one of the few people on earth that can say he's haunted back, and so, I've haunted him back, so it's a win. But yeah, he's definitely haunted me.
I don't know.
Can we just say? I just need to say 2 words. John Cena shows up.
John Cena is a Fact brother. Yeah,
and he killed it.
He was great. He is a professional wrestler who is also a really fine actor. Yeah, you can't see him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I have a favorite character. I think I relate to maybe. Oh man, what's the pastry chef who went to Europe for an episode in season 2?
Yeah,
the quiet kid.
Mm-hmm.
but he's thoughtful. Maybe I kind of relate to him. In some ways. It's one thing I will say. It's a great show, but I don't believe for 1 minute Claire Bear. Marcus, that's his name. Claire Bear is the most unrealistic character in the whole thing. Why she is in love with Carmi and why she continues to love him. It's like, do they all grow up on the same street or something? And she's always loved him all her life, and then finally, it maybe
that's how I read it.
Maybe something like that. Yeah,
that's how I read it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't believe it. I don't believe her. That's the only thing I can't go that far. It's a bridge too far for me.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'll say Marcus. Marcus is my favorite character.
Man, that guy is just like a sweet soul, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
Anybody that cares for his mama is like a winner, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I won't answer the question because I'm going to go back and answer that question with my answer to this next question, and it is favorite episode.
Ooh, gosh, I don't know about favorite episode, but my favorite moment is his cousin driving down the street singing Taylor Swift. What episode? I think that episode might have been called Forks. No, that was the one where he threw the fork at Better Call Saul. Spoons. It was called Spoons. When he worked at the other restaurant for a short time. Yeah, I think that one maybe was my favorite episode because it was the and you told me this to kind of clock this, and I did, but you were like, so there's gonna be people like Jamie Lannister who you hate him for like a season or half a season or 2 seasons or whatever, and then all of a sudden you love him, and that was the turning point for me. Like when I went from I hate this guy to like, man, I love him. So we're talking
about Eben Moss Backrack.
Yes.
I don't know if I said that right or not.
Andor's own.
Yeah, man, that guy.
Soon to be the Thing as well.
Yeah, Ben Grimm.
Yeah.
I'm for it, by the way.
Sure. He's a great actor.
I love the Fantastic Four. More than the Fantastic Four, I love the Future Foundation, and I hope we're going to get that. I think we're going to get a taste of that. So be prepared for the Future Foundation because it's even better. Now, episode, Taylor Swift, that's your moment. When
that's
he's singing
my favorite
Taylor Swift.
moment of the whole show. That are the Radiohead cans in season 1, yeah.
Yeah. For me, Richie is heart and soul of that show. He is the best character, and that episode still moves me. Like, I could get emotional thinking about that episode because, we've talked about trauma plot. We've talked about the different personalities and like how you respond to trauma and different things like that. We've talked about family. We've talked about purpose. Richie's trying to find his place in this world.
Yeah.
To quote the great Michael Dubb.
I don't want to lean on.
Looking for a reason.
I need you to help me find my place in this world. Sorry.
What a time to be alive, the 80s, when you could write a song and not sing at all and still sell millions of records.
That was 92. But yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 92. Or 91. 91 or 92.
We'll look it up later. I'm going to let you have that one.
It's 91. I'm going to go 91. That's
I'm going to let you have that
final
one.
answer.
I'm going to let you have it. I'm going to let you have that one. Richie finding purpose and seeing every second counts. Like, they just do a great job with those lines. That, let it rip. Oh my gosh. Like, just like they get you. They get you. They hit you in the heartstrings. You're going along. You're listening to all this craziness, this insanity. Like, I find my heart beating faster when I watch this show.
Yeah.
And I get nervous and I'm uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden, it's just like they hit you.
Yeah.
When Sydney's dad gets soda brought to the table.
Yeah.
Since we're in the South, we'll say he gets a bucket of Cokes, right?
Right.
Brought to the table. It was just such a good touch.
Yeah.
Felt so real.
Yeah.
So I'm for it, and I think it's for anybody that's interested in being moved by a story. I think it's gonna. I think it's not Will Smith. Will Smith wrote Slow Horses, by the way, which is another show we're going to talk about on Apple TV that I can't get enough of. But Christopher Storer, is that his name?
Yeah, I think that's right.
This guy's amazing, and I don't know if you know this or not. Maybe you do, but Fack is actually a chef. He's like a famous chef, and he's the one where we get the food stuff from.
Yeah. Here's my kind of final take on The Bear. I'm in it to the end. However many seasons there are, I'm gonna watch it all, and when it's over, then I will make my assessment of if I like it or not. That's where I sit with the show, because it is from episode to episode. Like, I need this to be over quickly. To, I wish this were an hour longer. Like, I can't get enough. Give me the loving chefs that Carmy worked with along the way, who were like teaching him about the delicacies of, whatever wild mushroom he's picking in the field. I don't know why I love those. Like, those are so, like, it feels so good. And when the Nine Inch Nails guys do the music, it's like, this is cinema on television. It's so good.
Yeah,
but man,
it's beautiful.
When they're arguing in the kitchen, and he's locked in the fridge or something, and there's something, and there's all the dissonant music going, and there's, the chaos of the kitchen and all that. I'm like,
are you expecting somebody to be like, I drink your milkshake?
I'm expecting something, but like, I have to get up and take a walk when it's over. Like, it's
intense.
it's hard. It's hard to watch. So yeah, I appreciate. Let me say this: I thoroughly appreciate it. Just don't know if I like it until it's all said and done. Then I'll decide if I like it or not.
Yeah. I'm just here for it. I love it. I love the ride.
I hear you.
And Jeremy Allen White is weirdly dreamy. I read something recently. It's like the rise of the rat boy or something like that. Like, all these famous people right now that are like the heartthrobs kind of look like rats. Like, they're talking about Timothée Chalamet, and they're talking about him, and even the dude that played the Joker in the recent Batman film. I can't think of his name, but like they're talking about him being a heartthrob, and it just is like super cruel, Yep. But I got tickled nonetheless.
That's funny.
Yeah. So we got two more things we want to talk about. I kind of shifted up a little bit because we just clocked in some solid time on the Bear.
Worth it.
No surprise, right? We know how to talk to each other.
Worth it.
I'd like for you to talk a little bit, if it's okay, about, you talked about excellence earlier. You talked about doing something excellent. We wrote a book together, and it's out in the world, The Dead Rock Stars, and we did a thing, man. And it went from this dream of having a small conversation about maybe we should do something to actually doing it. And I would love to hear a little bit about your journey and your opinion about it, how we did it, not in the sense of I need you to explain everything, but like how good it feels to maybe like do a thing, to actually chase excellence.
Yeah. It's sort of like when you think about, writing a book, it just seems so big. It's like jumping in the ocean and you can see an island that's way out there. Now you can see it clearly and you know that all you got to do is swim to get there, but you're like, I can never get there. I could never swim to that island. It's too far out there. But then you just say, you know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to get in the water, and I'm going to try to swim to that island. And you start swimming. And every now and then you lift your head up, and you think, well, the island's a little bit closer, you know? And you just keep swimming towards it. You just keep swimming towards it. And honestly, you know, that's the way it felt for us. You know, we started in 2018. You know, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but, you know, with a idea that I had about, you know, dead rock stars.
To be fair, though, we've talked about it ad nauseum on like 60 different podcasts of stuff that no one listened to.
That's true.
So
that's true. Other people's podcasts.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay if you want to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, just, you know, the Reader's Digest. Yeah, I had this idea about, you know, what if all these famous rock stars that are so beloved, what if they fake their deaths to become secret agents? And you loved the idea. You thought it was great. You couldn't put it down. You couldn't let it go. And me, I have 1,000 ideas a day like that about books, but they're just kernels. They're just ideas. You know, they're just things that kind of come into my head while I'm in the shower or I'm driving down the street, because I'm so internal. It all happens inside for me. So my wheels are always turning. Sometimes I can't sleep because I just got so many things going on, just ideas and things. Well, you know, as far as I was concerned, you know, I thought that this is a good idea. I think it'd be a lot of fun. You know, but you were just taken by it, and you just were like, let's do this. Let's write it. So when we started out, man, if you would have put me on a polygraph, I'd have been like, man, there's no way we're going to finish this. Sure, let's get started. Let's just see what happens. It'd be fun. But I would have said there's no way. The island is too far. It is way too far out there. And it's one thing if I'm trying to swim out there by myself. Now there's two of us, and we got to both get there. You know, holy cow, that's never going to happen. You know, because we've got too much happening in our lives. There's too many sharks in this water, you know. And so
leg
sure
cramps,
enough,
man. Leg cramps.
Leg cramps happen. And let's just face it, we're not in the best of shape, you know. Let's just face it.
We're slow.
We're slow swimmers.
Yeah.
But I'm faster than Chad Farneth. Anyway, so all that to say, I was as we swam. And as we wrote, and as it kind of started coming together, and as our dialogue, our conversation, our ideas just started firing off in our brains, and we would run things over. We knew kind of, you know, this is what we want to, the end we want to write toward, but we knew there was a whole lot of things that needed to happen in between. And as it started coming together, I was like, this is happening, you know. And we had the pandemic that gave us opportunity to, you know, a lot more time on our hands, and you know, and we finished it. We got it done. We found our way to that island. We swam our way to that island. We stood on the beach and went, holy cow, we did it.
Yeah.
You know, and at that stage we were like, maybe no one will ever read this. Maybe just you and I will have a lot of fun having said we did this. You know, it'll be like the you know, for 20 years, 30 years, there's like, yeah, the Chinese Democracy album by Guns N' Roses, the greatest album of all time, but no one's ever heard it. Maybe we would have, you know, it would have been that thing. Until the album actually came out and it stunk.
Did you ever listen to it?
Yeah, one time. It was not good.
Yeah.
Didn't care for it. Anyways, all that to say, you know, it came out. We found a publisher. We got it published. It's in the world. You can buy it anywhere books are sold, but especially at deadrockstars.com. If you're listening to this somewhere in the world, we would love for you to buy it from us. Anyway, all I'd say, man.
How do you personally feel about making something, would you say, is excellent?
We've talked about this together. When we went to our retreat to finish it off, to do our final edit, and when we read just about,
do you
the
imagine
whole
us
book,
in white robes together, like sitting there with like with a pipe and like?
No, man. You know, it's more like you know, like med students, you know, with cigarettes and coffee, you know, trying to get through exams or whatever.
And
that's
uppers, like a whole bunch of no-dos.
A lot of no-dos, yeah. That's more what it felt like. No, you know, when we finished and like we hit the period on the final sentence, like this wave came over me of like, Jay, not only did we do it, what we did was good. Like, it's a good story. Now, it's not perfect. You know, I'm sure that people can find, you know, nitpicks and flaws and stuff, and I've thought of them myself, you know. It's like, oh, I wish we'd have done this or that, just a little bit. But it's a good story. It's
a good
fun.
story.
And we've
It's
had
fun.
enough people read it and tell us that this is a Great story. Did we do something excellent? I don't know.
Yeah, we did, Kyle.
But it's darn good.
It's good.
It's darn good.
Yeah,
I'll say
it's
that.
good. A lot to be proud of. Like, I think, how many errors in the book do you think people have located?
Oh, there's like 6. There's like 6
I feel like out of 92,000 words, like that lands in the excellent category.
That's not bad. Yeah.
No, man. I mean, you can find stuff in Harry Potter where you're like, that's an error.
Yeah.
Like they're there.
They're there.
So,
I know it.
So I just want to say, man, I'm really proud of you. I'm proud that we chased a dream. I'm proud of us. And we did a thing, man.
We did it. Yeah, we did it. And what's cool about it is we did it once, and now we're like, we can do this. We can swim to that island. We got to do it again. We
found more islands. Because
again.
we're children of the 80s, how do we want to do this, buddy? I mean, not just one, right?
We got to do 3.
Yeah, you got to have a trilogy.
Got to have a trilogy. Yeah, that's it though.
Do you want to talk a little bit about book 2?
You know, let's just leave it at this. Fingers have gone to keyboard, and book 2 is in process. We had another mini retreat a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
To kind of plot
on Reflection Road.
On Reflection Road, yeah. To kind of plot out what we want to do with book 2. We have some big tentpole plot points, and we've got the beginning of some ideas that I think are exciting. And I'm super pumped. I'm very pumped. I am ready. I'm ready and raring to go. How about you?
Man, I could get emotional talking about it because sometimes life is difficult. And it's been a difficult year. But I would say since 2018, we chased a dream and we actually did it. And we did it together and we still like each other. And I think that's a big deal. Like, who co-writes a book? Who co-writes anything? Like for us to be friends as long as we have and to be able to make something that we think is special. And not only have we done it, but I mean, we've got enough reviews in from enough different people that we know it's good.
Yeah.
Books have long tails. And so who knows if, this podcast is the beginning of something of making more people aware about the Dead Rock Stars universe of Watson&Wiltshire. We've got more stories to tell beyond the Dead Rock Stars. And I think this is just the beginning. And so here's to more. Here's to, okay, let's do it. What you got? All right. Ding, ding.
High quality H2O right
I don't know
here.
if you see this, but this is a Dead Rock Stars tumbler.
That's classy.
Yeah.
That's classy.
And I'm excited about the future, man. I'm excited about what comes next, and I'm excited about this podcast. I think we're gonna try to make several more, have a season 1 out, and we're gonna talk about a little bit how we made the book, how we made book 1, and how we're gonna make book 2, and what it looks like, and kind of give some trade secrets. So hopefully, if you're chasing a dream and you're listening to this, you know how to do it, and you can do it too, because the world needs more art. The world needs more beautiful things to be inspired by, because in that inspiration is where you get excited about life and you see a little bit of a glimpse of God's goodness.
Yeah, you can swim to that island. It just takes time, but you can do it.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. So Kyle, let's wrap it up, buddy. We've probably gone longer than we should. I don't know where we are time wise, but
we're doing great.
We've had fun. And here's my question, Kyle.
Yeah.
What have we learned today?
I learned that Time Bandits is just British Bill and Ted. That's what I learned.
Nice. With no George Carlin, because
with
for
no
obvious
George Carlin
reasons.
or Wild Stallions.
Yeah,
no.
Pour some out. I've learned that you have the ability to sit in one place for 8 hours at a time and consume things on a Sunday.
It was so good. It was glorious. It was just glorious. And I watched a whole lot of it on the Red Zone, so I felt like I was watching every single game. And it was great. My wife hated it. She was like, I was going to say, this.
That's football ADD right there.
It was lovely. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So good.
I've also learned that that maybe we should give Ready Player One a second chance on film.
I think you should. I think everyone should watch it. And if you have kids, watch it with your kids, because I think they will appreciate the pop culture. It might get them into some of the things that you love, Back to the Future. A lot of you can spot all kinds of fun things. The Iron Giant,
Chef. Yes, Chef. Heard, Chef.
Heard. Behind. No, it's good. It's not a perfect facsimile of the book. Let's just accept that. But it's a really good story, really good film.
It's a really good story. Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun.
And Simon Pegg, he hits.
He's great.
Like he brings in a good, solid base hit with that moment at the end. It was beautiful.
He's in everything he's in is good.
Yeah?
I don't know if that's true, but I start thinking he's in Star Trek.
Have you seen
good.
Paul?
I've never seen Paul, but I've seen Star Trek. And he's in
watch
that.
Paul.
That's good. He's in Star Wars. He's Unkar Plot in The Force Awakens, Episode 7. Check it out.
Yes, he is.
He's in Mission Impossible. I'm growing more and more in love with Mission Impossible by the day. I watched the new one again the other day. It's so good. It's so good. So yeah, Simon Pegg is again. He's one of the people we strive to be. Ernest Cline and Simon Pegg. Does it get higher than that?
So Kyle, as we wrap up, any final words?
Thank you for listening. I hope if you found this, hope you have enjoyed getting into the minds of Jay Watson and Kyle Wiltshire and our 20 plus years of friendship and the crazy things that we enjoy and talk about and our banter. You have just eavesdropped on what we've been doing for a long time, and it's a lot of fun. Enjoy doing that. Doing this with you, my friend.
Yeah, man, this was good tonight. Welcome to the party. And I would just say, I hope that everyone chooses to be excellent to each other. And in my opinion, the better version of Bill and Ted's would be Wayne's World. And so I'll say, party on, Kyle.
Party on, Jay.
And with that, later, dudes.